Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's video is going to be an update on the forecast. There's a potential for a rather potentially strong system next week. Early Tuesday, Monday, and just an intrusion of cold air. I'll also be talking about the brief warm-up on Sunday. So before we get into all of that, consider subscribing to the video, to this channel, consider liking this video. If you are, new, you haven't seen this channel before, check out my other videos, check out my whole channel, see if this channel is worthy of a subscription. If you are not new and you always watch my videos and you enjoy them, consider liking the video. There's like a thumbs up button. If you press that, it really does a lot. Gets this video out to more people, and it's just it's probably the best thing you could do aside from subscribing. So let's look at the GFS model. Let's start off with that model. Right now we're looking at the 006 frame, and you can see there's 384 hours of these equivalency of these frames. There's not 384 frames, there's way less, as this goes by 6 hours each. But notice that we're looking at a fairly wet system to this in the southern US. Not snow out of this for those locations. There was some snow in Kansas and Missouri, but no snow for the southern US. Notice that this cold air stays on for quite a bit. We have this northern piece of energy, this little system almost like a clipper. It comes through portions of northern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, across Friday and Saturday. Then we get this burst of energy from the southern coast that earlier was thought to be a nor'easter for the northeast United States. You know, there's been some talk about a westward trend, but really that trend has been quite miserable, as it's not enough, really. There's just not, even if it was really far to the west. Look at that. There's green colors all the way out here. There's a lack of cold air. This would not be enough to support a nor'easter. So basically the threat for that is basically gone, especially since it's 66 hours out, a couple days out. It does not usually change that far out. I'm not excluding it, but let's say I'm severely doubting it that it would change. For the Canadian Maritimes, get ready, because you may be in for one hell of a doozy. Otherwise, nothing much. Notice this gets replaced by a very nice ridge. It's going to be rather quick, but it's going to be potent. And for those living in the plains, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, I don't know about you, but here in the Chicagoland area, we are at our 8th day of cloudy weather, and it's almost like a streak. We've been at a record for, I think, if we get 9 days of consecutive cloudiness, we're at tied the record since 1998. That's what I saw on my local news channel. And yeah, it just goes to show you that this weather it's just been miserable. But we'll get some nice warmth out of this on Sunday, so if you live in the plains, kind of coincides perfectly with the Super Bowl. Really nice warm weather happens on February 2nd, Super Bowl, and you can make some parties, some events outdoors, especially if you live towards the south. But that's not long lived, as with these with this warm weather, usually comes some price, especially at this time of the year. And with that, we see a pretty large system, which has been advertised by the models for quite a long time. Now, this thing may be a messy one, and the exact details are still really yet to be refined. But we're seeing actually quite a bit of, I guess, details that usually don't come out until a couple days before. It's relatively early already. We're almost looking at this couple days before, almost a week out, really, and we're looking at several days out from the system, and we're already looking at some model gaming that's pretty profound. And you can see that we have a lot of snow across Nebraska breaking out, Kansas late Tuesday, late Monday, early Tuesday. We see the storm coming out of New Mexico. Then it rides up through the Midwest and up through Canada and into the Northeast. Notice that this system is more of a west to east based system, and that is because the cold air that comes after this warm push of air is really centered like this. And this jet stream just rides like that, and any storm that does form that wants to push to the north can't really make its way too easily to the north if it's not strong enough to, to push the jet stream up north. So it basically just rides along here, and it basically just takes quite a toll on these areas with some heavier precip, snow, rain, whatever it may be. You could see that across northern Illinois, Iowa, southern Wisconsin, Michigan. You could actually get a little bit of snow, also some ice. Where this all lays out, still tricky, but you know, if I were in any of these locations that are in blue right now at this moment, a little bit north or south as well, I would be watching pretty carefully for the system, as it will change, and the snow amounts, while may not be historic, they could definitely pose a messy Tuesday, late evening Tuesday, early Wednesday, or late Wednesday commute, depends on where you live. And you can see that passes through. Snowfall amounts aren't too awfully impressive. They are, you know, relatively respectable, if you will, up to half a foot in some locations. You can see 4, 5, 6 inches. And with these type of systems, we see more uniformity, or uniform amounts rather than jumpy amounts, sometimes with like a developing low, which we have seen in the past couple of times. This one seems to be more consistent. Notice that it still looks as if, though there will be some changes, that passes out. We see quite a bit of cold air actually come through, and you can see that we see basically just I guess a cold air mass that doesn't really have lots of precip in it, some snow showers, but then we see a northern piece, a northern wave come on shore, and this really just does a pretty big storm, which the models were indicating possibly to be even bigger earlier on, which now they're showing to be a little bit weaker. But you can see it dives into the Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, while there's a little bit of nice warm air on the back side of it, or yeah, in the front side, while after that, we get a dose of colder air, which spawns, again, possibly with them mixing air masses, another snow system across the east, and an even bigger one across the south. So you can see the chances are definitely there. Again, the one that we are watching the most right now is this one. And let's look at the other models. Well, before we do that, actually, let's quickly look at that warm-up, as that was probably the best thing you could be looking forwards to. You know, I like cold weather. I like snowy weather, right? However, at this time of the year, I really just want to say, bring on the spring, bring on a warmth. I'm looking forward to the gardening season more than I think I've ever before. This winter's been really crummy, and you know, whether it's the fact that it's not been snowy or not been cold, that should really be more of a, oh, I'm not looking forward to, or I'm not looking forward to winter or spring as much if the winter hasn't been that cold, you know. I could still take winter a couple of weeks, but it's just been such crummy weather, as I said at the beginning of the video. 9 days of consecutive cloudiness, temperatures marginally above freezing, really just snow on the ground, muddy. I just really want the warm weather to come, but let me tell you, with these patterns that we're seeing right now and trending for the past several years, late winter, cold snaps, and early spring winter storms are a trend. So I would say from around January 30th, 29th, you know, February 1st, let's just leave it at a simple date, I would say that there's still at least 2 months of good winter left. And obviously for the southern locations, that's going to be minimized, right? But if you live anywhere north of Missouri, Kansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, you know, Indiana, Illinois, those states, you will be looking at, again, probably 2 more months of winter, at least into early April. You can see we get a nice, but by the way, that doesn't mean that there won't be warm-ups. There will be warm-ups, and the warmer temperatures will be sneaking their way in. It's just, you know, they will be marginalized. Notice that you could see a 60s, 70s, 50s across parts of the southern U.S., and we get some nice warmer temperatures across the U.S. I think this is a little bit underdone by the GFS, the models. This model in particular has been, I guess, undermining some of this warmth. I think it will be much warmer than what this model is showing, possibly maybe some 70s into parts of Oklahoma and Texas. And again, I want to emphasize that the temperatures after this will be downright probably dangerous across parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. So really not much good news in terms of that. Downright, you know, possibly a polar vortex, like almost you could see -12, -18. GFS really doing that. However, as we saw, the GFS has a little bit of a cold bias. Let's look at the Canadian, and let's see what it does with the snowstorm. As I showed you with the GFS, let's see what it does with this next recent, most upcoming snowstorm. You can see we have that possible nor'easter-like system across the weekend. Really, Again, not much confidence in that. So it looks as if that will be a not really a major threat for the U.S. While it could be for some of the Canadian portions of the Canadian Maritimes, Nova Scotia, Labrador, Newfoundland, all those locations, maybe seeing quite a bit of snow. Again, we have that warm up by the Canadian, and we see that same storm, just a little bit different orientation. Again, we are expected to see that, and you can see this one, it takes a different track. It takes it in more of a north to south, which the Canadian has been showing for quite a while, which, you know, the Canadian, I guess, I don't know why it does this. I guess it thinks that the trough will be a little bit more deeper across portions of Texas and Oklahoma, causing the storm to do more of a quick turnaround. Which one is more right? I'm buying the GFS right now more than the Canadian, but at least it's showing the storm, so it gives us confidence that something is coming. And if we were to look at this in a total snowfall, it does quite a bit more snow than the GFS across different locations, however. But again, that is, I guess, the beauty of weather. You don't really know which model is going to be right. You can only know which one has less confidence, which one has more confidence. This is now the European model. Let's look at this system, and let's take this one by one. You can see right now, again, we are looking at some relatively average conditions, maybe a bit above average. We see that nor'easter-like system getting towards the Canadian Maritimes, dropping quite a bit of snow, actually, maybe in extreme western portions of Maine, though there has been a eastward trend from that by the GFS model. The European is probably the farthest west model you will get at this point. And even if it were to trend west, for those who are watching, there's just really not. There's a lack of cold air across the Northeast, so that doesn't seem likely. We don't have that high pressure to the north that drives into cold air on a typical nor'easter-like setup. You can see European model has that system right there, has that track, though it takes a little bit further to the south, but there's a storm, so we have confidence that there's going to be some sort of setup right there. Let me show you the European precipitation map right now. Let's look at the European model now. Again, we have that brief warm-up across Sunday, but up until then, some relatively average conditions. Here's that warm-up on Saturday, which is preceded by a pretty large system. You can see right there across the Northeast, again, that nor'easter potential. This one has a little bit further to the west. You can see affecting portions of extreme western Maine, or eastern Maine, but that is, again, probably the most western scenario you will get. Notice we go into Monday, Tuesday, we see this system developing, dragging in quite a bit of moisture from the south. We get some snow across the central, I guess, plains into the Midwest. Then this drags off into the Northeast. Becomes it's a combination of the Canadian and the Europe and the GFS, really has that westerly component and then that north to south component. Pretty large system, actually, impressive. Then we go later through that week, and you can see another system Saturday across the Northeast. This is actually, I'm pretty sure, the second day the European is showing this large system for the Northeast. Very far out, but we'll have to see, and another system possibly in the Midwest. So that's about it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. See ya.